Living in a quiet suburb of Wisconsin, Bart and Krista had everything to be proud about. Their eldest son Mitchell had recently graduated from college, had a job at a tech company, and was engaged to be married. Their youngest son Chandler was finishing up his last year of studies at Madison College, a local university where he was taking classes remotely. Chandler was working part-time for an insurance company called American Life. He was in his last year of university and had lined up a job at the space exploration company SpaceX, which he would start upon graduation. Everything seemed to be going well for the family. In the first half of 2021, Bart became increasingly suspicious about both his son's education and job. Despite working remotely for American Life, Chandler never had any money. He couldn't pay his parents any rent or buy food on his own. Chandler claimed there were administrative delays in receiving his paychecks. He forwarded his dad an email sent from the address tomselznick@protonmail.com. Tom Selznick was an employee for Northeast Remote Human Resources Management, which was supposedly an HR contractor used by American Life, despite the fact that Selznick used a generic ProtonMail email address and spelled human resources incorrectly. Bart gave his son the benefit of the doubt. But receiving pay from American Life wasn't Chandler's only problem. He was also having trouble receiving transcripts for the classes he completed at Madison College. Chandler again forwarded his dad emails, this time from a Gmail address supposedly belonging to his college advisor. Very similar to the situation with American Life, there were various administrative delays preventing Chandler from receiving his transcripts. As it turned out, Chandler had never been employed by American Life, and he had dropped out of Madison College more than a year ago. While his parents thought he was working or taking classes remotely, he was actually playing video games. In late June of 2021, Bart was fed up by the months-long delays in receiving Chandler's college transcripts, so he called Madison College and spoke to a customer service representative called Omar Job. Omar checked the records and found Chandler had not been enrolled in any classes at the college for more than a year. On June 29, 2021, Bart texted Chandler a 5-word message. I spoke to Omar Job. These 5 words were all Chandler needed to see that his house of cards had finally come crashing down. Unable to face the humiliation of his lies being exposed, Chandler shot both of his parents with a high-powered rifle in their Wisconsin home. On July 2, 2021, Krista didn't show up for work, and none of her colleagues had heard from her. This was highly unusual. In fact, it was so unusual that one of Krista's colleagues, a man named Daniel Croninger, went to the Halderson residence to make sure everything was okay. He was greeted by 23-year-old Chandler, who assured Daniel his parents were fine. They had gone to stay at the family cabin for the July 4th weekend, and perhaps there was no cell phone reception. By July 7th, they had still not come back. Coming under increasing pressure from his mum's colleague Daniel, Chandler finally contacted the police. He told them about his parents' trip to the cabin. He said his parents had been picked up by a couple he didn't know and drove to the cabin, never to be heard from again. On July the 8th, the police went to the cabin and found nothing. In fact, it looked like the cabin had not been occupied for many months. Within days, the police began to grow suspicious of Chandler's version of events. Forensic investigators found traces of human blood in the basement. Foreseeing that this might happen, Chandler told the police the blood was his own. While playing with his dogs, he broke some glass and stepped on it, causing his foot to gush blood. On July the 8th, the police had identified parts of Krista Halderson's body in a wooded area a few miles away from the Chandler home. Chandler's girlfriend Catherine Melenda gave police her phone. Using Snapchat's live location feature, they were able to locate Chandler's cell phone at the exact same wooded area where his mother's remains were located. By this point, investigators were almost certain Chandler had killed his parents. But instead of arresting him outright, they asked him to voluntarily come to the police station to answer some questions. By this point, Chandler did not yet know he was the prime suspect for his parents' death.
In the morning, I'm a little worried about my family. I think I called my mom. Throughout. Gets to the afternoon. I'm talking to Dan. I call him up and I ask him, what he's doing. maybe that was the morning, but I called Dan that Sunday, asked him what he's up to, if he wanted to hang out. I don't like being alone at the house very long.
Dan is mom's coworker / friend?
Yeah,
okay.
This guy. Go over there he invited me for fireworks in his driveway.
You said yesterday he lived in DeForest or Windsor, one or the other?
Yeah, close.
Okay.
I could point it at a map.
One or the other, I think it is.
So, throughout the day, the dogs, it's just me and the dogs, the fireworks, and the dogs are like running around and into things. I'm trying to keep them okay. All they're doing is knocking stuff over, spilled their water. They haven't eaten. They won't go outside for me. Even on a leash, I couldn't get them.
Chandler talks about going to Dan's house while he thought his parents were at the cabin. Dan was Krista's co-worker and a close family friend. He then spends an exorbitant amount of time talking about his dogs, something that is completely irrelevant to his parents' disappearance. Talking about irrelevant details is common among guilty suspects. They usually prepare an extremely detailed story ahead of time to tell the police. They think this will make their story appear more believable. If he were innocent, his main goal would be to provide any information which could aid the police in finding his missing parents, not making sure his story sounds believable.
What was the deal with that?
Fireworks.
Oh, the fireworks are spooking them so much.
Yeah, all day.
Gotcha.
So I put them both into the Ford, cranked the TV.
The officer indulges Chandler in talking about the dogs. This might seem like the officer is getting sidetracked, but this is a common interrogation technique. The officer wants to make Chandler feel as comfortable as possible. The more he talks, the more likely they are to find some inconsistency in his story, which they can use against him in court. Remember that at this point, Chandler has not been charged with any crime, and he doesn't know whether or not the police suspect him of murder. The last thing the police want to do is make him feel like he is a suspect. The worst-case scenario is that he gets nervous and says he wants to go home, which he has the right to do at any time. Even if he was under arrest, he has the right to remain silent and has no obligation to talk to the police. Thus, no matter how guilty the police may think he is, their best bet is to remain friendly with him and try to get him to talk as much as possible.
The date is Rose, maybe, is what her name was.
Rose? Had you ever met her before?
No, this was a Tinder match from her brother, Kat's brother.
Okay.
Here we can see an unusually long pause from Chandler. Remember, the events he is recalling happened just about a week ago, so it shouldn't be that hard to remember. But when you're stringing together a web of lies, it takes a huge amount of mental effort to keep the story straight.
What time do you suppose you guys went to Cress's house? So, got to Kat's around noon, went to
2:30
sleep.
we got back.
Okay.
Kat and I went to my house to let the dogs out, then we left. I think we got gas. And then we went to Cress's, so I would say it was maybe 4 when we got there. We were late for dinner. But it was good because they were still setting up.
Where'd you guys get gas at? Do you remember that?
One of the quick trips in town. I can't remember. I'm sorry.
When you say in town, are we talking DeForest, Sun Prairie?
DeForest, it had to be.
Okay.
I think we got. I'm still not super sure, but I know we were doing something on the way, or we didn't do something. I thought we were gonna do a return, but I'm jumbling it right now, so just have that.
Also notice how Chandler often looks down at the ground, avoiding eye contact with the detectives. It is common for people to avoid eye contact when they are telling a lie, as this decreases the mental pressure. This happens subconsciously.
they're offering me to get a job, live with them, work for them while I'm working, and pay rent. And that's kind of their deal. I would have like a month free of rent, or a month or two maybe if they're thinking. I could be able to borrow a car from Crest maybe if she's nice. Or not using it, I'd be able to go to work.
Did she have a lot of cars or something? No? Okay. Just an extra one, probably.
She stays at the farm.
Okay.
So if she didn't need it, I could use it
Sure.
to go to a job, or at least interviews.
Yeah.
I was hoping for a job, near where I live so I could bike. That would keep me,
Yeah.
these going. I don't think they can get worse, but I could keep doing it,
Yeah.
He talks about how he was looking for a job. His girlfriend's mum would even let him borrow her car to go to job interviews. Remember that Chandler supposedly already had a job at American Life and would soon be starting his new job at SpaceX. At least, that's what his parents and brother believed.
Where are we?
Sunday. So you were swimming, had a little breakdown. What were you having a breakdown about?
You ever have your legs kind of... Yeah.
No, I haven't.
Just...
Okay.
I don't even know if they're done getting like as bad as they can be yet. So that's not fun.
And I think you were telling me last night it's a symptom of a concussion, right?
So
is that right?
That's not it. It's a symptom of nerve damage from the hit to my spine. So it's permanent.
Okay, I understand that now better.
Yeah. So it's just legs. I think it's waist feeling is probably colostomy bag down the road and all of that. But here we are Sunday.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, we're sitting in the pool, we're hanging out. They're just talking to me. Sometimes they're being nice, sometimes they're like making the offer, like, hey, if you move in, you can pay rent. This is a good neighborhood. It's a cul-de-sac. There's parking. So, yeah, on the east side, just off of Milwaukee Street, that's Andrew.
Oh, okay.
You take a left turn onto Andrew down Milwaukee.
Yep.
So that's it. So it's a good neighborhood, kind of like the one by my parents.
Mm-hmm.
If I lived there, I'd at least be on doing my own thing. And then they're like, well, appreciate you stopping by. So I head out and I go, it was Monday afternoon, I go to dinner at Kat's house on the east side.
Okay. What time do you think that was?
It had to be 7:30. I left the farm, which is Cress's.
7:30 p.m.
Cress's is the farm.
Okay.
So we're at Kat's. And then she's planning on feeding me. This is Monday, correct?
Yeah.
It's after the farm swim with Cress. I think we just eat and cuddle a little bit.
Okay.
When I go home, there's the girls. Let them out and go to bed because I kind of had a day.
Yeah. What time do you think you left her place?
I'd
Kat's
say
place?
9.
You left about 9. Okay. She didn't come with you?
No, I was
Okay.
alone that night.
Okay.
I really want to drag her away.
Sure.
I think she stayed at her apartment or her house that night, not apartment.
Okay.
So there we are. Tuesday morning. It was just... I can't remember Tuesday. Oh, Dan wakes me up, I believe, with something, or not wakes me up. I did the 6 again with the dogs and the food, but I got back in bed. I don't know if I passed out or zoned out a little bit, but Dan is worried about my mom on Tuesday, I think.
Did he call
I
or
said
text
no,
her?
no word. My mom. I don't know if he called or texted.
Okay.
I think he just contacted. That's what I can think of.
Reached out.
Yeah, he reached out. Then I'm like, oh, it's Tuesday morning. They should be here. A little worried. I think I called my mom that day.
All right.
And then,
You talked to her?
no, she never picked
She
up.
didn't
It's
Tuesday
always,
either?
it's always the
Here, Chandler finally gets to the part where his mum Krista doesn't show up to work and Dan is worried. This is where things gradually start to get more tense.
voicemail and said voicemail. You know when you...
Oh, yeah.
So it's off, out of range. I don't know the other factors that could give you that.
It's like a voicemail right away. Goes right to voicemail, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So whatever factors can give you that.
So I might have missed it. So from the time like they left, did you talk to them at all when they were
I got a
up
text.
north? You got the one text
And I
that you mentioned
don't
earlier,
even like it.
right?
Yeah.
But that was it? Nothing else?
Yeah. So that's fishy to me, even the text, because I realized Memorial Day is when the White Lake Parade is.
Oh, sure.
There's no 4th of July. Maybe there's cheap drinks, but there's no parade at
Okay.
White Lake on the 4th. So, well, maybe there is now. I realize I've always gone on Memorial because that's the
Sure.
weekend I get time off from school and all of that. You know.
He says that after his parents went to the cabin, the only communication he had with them was a text from his mum saying they had gone to the cabin for a 4th of July parade. He says this was weird because to his knowledge, there was no 4th of July parade in that area. Prior to his investigation, he told the police his parents were picked up by an unknown couple who drove them to the cabin. By saying he received this suspicious text message, he is subtly trying to lay blame on this unknown couple. Possibly they had already killed his parents by this point and used his mum's phone to text him. The fact that Chandler fabricated even such minute details to shift the blame against an imaginary couple shows the meticulous preparations he made.
Get time off for the 4th.
So basically, from the time that they're gone at the cabin and you're home, you know, running around doing what you're doing, you just had one communication with mom.
Yeah, that's kind of how
Via
I
text.
just assumed the amount of people.
If you were innocent, how would you answer this question? It's not particularly complicated, and remember, these events happened just a few days ago. If the only communication you had with your mum was one text message, it would be very easy to just say yes. Chandler instead says, yeah, that's kinda how it'd be. Not exactly a straightforward answer.
Where they're at and whether
Sure.
all
Well, I understand. I'm just
Oh, I
making
added
sure it
up
wasn't
to-
more than one.
her not contacting, but this was the only text.
Was there anything with Dad?
No, I wouldn't even bother talking to him. He wouldn't use his phone while he's up there. He loves it.
Oh,
Just like, you know,
does he keep his phone on him when he's up there?
it's,
Uh-huh.
probably, it's usually in the car.
Oh, okay.
My brother and I just text all the time while we're up there. We even set up wire antennas sometimes to make better connection.
Sure. Okay.
So here we are. Where?
Tuesday. Called mom. Voicemail immediately.
Voicemail immediately Tuesday-ish. Where?
Dan called, worried about mom not coming to work. You had already fed the dogs and that before Dan called you, or reached out to you.
Oh. So Tuesday. I'm doing this now.
Another very long pause. This is where stress is turning up for Chandler. At this point in the story is where Dan was getting worried about his parents' disappearance. He must know that the police had already interviewed Dan extensively. Chandler has to be very careful not to contradict anything Dan would have told them.
I got a coffee at a Quick Trip one day. Well, I think that could have been Tuesday morning.
Okay.
At Quick Trip, I got a coffee. And I used my dad's number at a Quick Trip to get me the free one because it was the Group of Gold. Yep. I could have afforded it, but there's a free one, and it's Tuesday, or it was a Monday. I could have gotten $1 one, but it was full price, I believe, and I grabbed the coffee because it was a free one. He hasn't used it for weeks, so I grabbed that at a Quick Trip. I couldn't tell you which one. I was just driving at that point.
When you use it's a rewards card is what they call it, right?
Yeah.
You just enter his phone number or something.
You type it.
Okay.
But I got a coffee. Had to be, I'm assuming, Tuesday. And I got a free one.
Sweet.
It was terrible.
Oh, it was?
I wanted to try Group of Gold.
Yeah.
It wasn't bad. Anyway.
If your parents were missing, would you make small talk to the police about how good your coffee was? But again, the police indulge him to keep him talking as much as possible.
Tuesday, cat's working, I'm gaming, job hunt. And then I started trying to get the glass, because I've been a little lazy on the glass. I just kind of had chairs in front of it. I broom and, the little sweeper holder, you broom it into that.
Dustpan.
Yeah. Tossing the glass into recycling. I get most of it. There's a bunch in the cracks of the stone that I'm picking out by hand. I didn't injure myself from that, but yeah. Just my blood was kind of on the floor, so I got the Swiffer I borrowed from Kat, from the foot. I borrowed a Swiffer to mop. I Swiffered the floor, like not the stone, but the floor. And then I got a little bit in the kitchen. And then everywhere kind of I walked, pretty much. The bathroom, the kitchen, and then I couldn't get the carpet, so I still stained that up, a little crappy.
Where was their carpet at?
The stairs between basement and kitchen.
Carpet. Oh, that's right.
Carpet stays. I tried. I can't get it out. I don't know how to do that, but then all the way up to the laundry room where I found my first aid kit. I just tried to stop all the bleeding, but it wouldn't stop.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And that blood was all coming from your left foot.
Yeah, left foot hole.
Left foot hole.
Yeah.
I mean, are we talking massive amounts of blood, or are we talking, a little bit, like describe?
It started as drops until I got to the bathroom. And then I got back to go grab my sock and some of the paper towel. And then I see the glasses in there, so I grab a tweezers and I pull it out. And then it starts squirting out. And I got some on a little bit of the rock. It wasn't that bad of the rock. But I think the worst was that floor. That, it kind of like this lid puddles.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't good.
Are we talking the floor down in the basement?
Well, that one, and then I go upstairs to the kitchen, and it's still going, and I'm trying to get my foot in the sink just to slow it down and pinch it maybe.
Okay.
And then I waddle upstairs to the IFAC, or the first aid kit. And once I got it kind of bundled up, it stopped for what I know. then I go, I need to get some tape. We have a tape box in the basement. I go there and I opened it up again. And I bled a little bit more, but the basement was easy to clean. It's just cement. Just a little bit of water, and I ragged that up. But I grabbed the tape box and I wrapped it. After that's Tuesday.
Yep.
That's Tuesday.
Chandler is talking about how he accidentally injured his foot and leaked blood all over the basement floor. His foot injury was quite convenient, as the police later found traces of blood on the basement floor. Later on, they would check his foot, and there was only a small paper-cut-sized injury on his toe, hardly enough to cause the type of gushing blood he was talking about.
As far as the blood on your foot, how did you clean that up? So we were talking. You had blood on
Swiffer wet jet.
Okay, Swiffer wet jet. And where did you get that from?
Cat let me borrow it.
Where is it at now?
I returned it.
To Cat.
Yeah.
Okay. That's fine.
I don't know where it's at now. He just brought it back. Gave it back to her.
Did you use anything else?
Hydrogen peroxide for the tiles on the hard floors. Just the big globs needed a little bit.
Hydrogen peroxide. Did that seem to help get rid of the blood?
Well, it hurt my foot. That stuff. But it didn't really help.
Okay.
It kind of just made a mess.
And when you say only on tiles, I'm trying to remember your house.
I couldn't do carpet with it. It
Yeah.
would ruin the carpet, right?
It would. I think so.
Um,
Tiles, are we talking kitchen? Because downstairs
Yeah.
is just like cement.
well, when I had some blood on the basement, I used the peroxide.
Okay. Basement floor and tiles in the kitchen?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I peroxided. It wasn't as much. Like, there weren't, like, this size pools in the kitchen.
Okay.
I was pinching it pretty dang hard, but which was also cutting deeper because I had or might still have another piece of glass.
Is that the biggest pool that you saw was something?
This was downstairs. Okay. This was kind of on the stone, close to the glass, and then there was one right at the base, kind of where the chairs I put.
Okay.
Like a good, like 2 or 3 inch diameter.
2 or 3 inch diameter. Okay.
More than that.
Did you do anything to? So I wrote down on Tuesday that you tried getting the glass cleaned up in the basement. Tossed it in the glass and recycling. Did you clean up at all when it actually happened?
No, my dad was furious.
So you just
So he did stuff.
to clean it.
Yeah, I don't know what he did, but he sent me to my room upstairs, and he did whatever he did. But it still was on the floor after he was done.
Okay. Did your dad get injured at all when the glass broke? Did he step on any or
He
anything?
sent me up, but I don't doubt it. When he gets mad, he's not thinking.
So we don't know if your dad got hurt.
No,
Okay.
no. But my best guess is that guy reached in the fireplace and cut off his arm or something. I don't know.
Okay. What's up?
Head pain? Do you guys have like Tylenol or something? I know you guys can't really offer anything like that, but
Like a headache?
yeah, I've been getting the migraines from all of the hits and stuff.
Yeah, we can try and give you something.
So alright, so cleaning up the blood, we just got the Swiffer and the hydrogen peroxide.
Yeah, just kind of smeared it around. There's another paper toweling. Yeah, just that.
Okay.
And then there's, I don't know.
Where did all those paper towels go? Just in the trash?
Yeah. Some just everywhere in my car trash, in my trash.
They ended up in the car trash?
There's a bag in the car that I carry around. It's a car trash.
Oh, okay.
It's like a gallon bag.
Okay.
That's more portable than the garbage can. So, yeah, bloody rag after bloody rag, just trying to get it all up. And I don't know, it was a lot. I didn't feel sick, so it couldn't have been that much, right?
Yeah, you didn't lose enough to pass out or anything. Is there any reason to believe mom or dad's blood would be somewhere in the house? Have they been injured at all that you're aware of?
Up until this point, Chandler had done a pretty good job sticking to his pre-prepared story. Whether you believe the story about his injured foot or not, he at least has some explanation as to why there were traces of blood on the floor. However, what Chandler failed to consider is that forensic investigators can tell who the blood belongs to. They can identify that the blood on the floor belonged to Bart and Krista Halderson. When the police start asking about his parents' blood, Chandler finally realizes this. He has no pre-prepared explanation for his parents' blood, so he starts improvising.
My dad scratches his psoriasis till he, gushes blood.
Okay. Gushing. Describe gushing to me.
Enough to run down your leg, cover your leg, I suppose. Like, he has it on his knee. So when he does this, it just, drips down. I ask him to stop, but he doesn't do it when he's stressed out.
Yeah.
He just kind of, it's his tick.
Yeah, probably itches. Does he, does it enough to get on the floor? Does it leave?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, how much, before we were talking the water bottle lid and the Yeti lid, is there, are we talking puddles like that, or just drippings, or?
It could be enough.
Okay.
But I'm thinking Yeti lid if he's there and I don't catch him soon enough.
Oh, jeez.
My ma's blood, just from her bloody noses she gets sometimes when she wakes up. That's why we've been doing the humidifier and dehumidifiers.
Yeah. Probably downstairs you get the...
We have to do multiple of them, but she can't be in the living room too long because that's a dehumidifier.
Yep.
And if she does, her nose gets bad. Not like a regular one, she gets it bad. But she either goes to the kitchen to fix it, her vanity, or the bathroom.
When she has bloody noses, are we talking it's just spraying around? Is it just dripping?
Well, it's not squirting, but it's
just
just
enough to,
dripping, and she doesn't notice it.
Okay.
She can't feel it anymore.
Okay.
Apparently, his dad has a medical condition called skin condition psoriasis. When he scratches his skin, it causes him to bleed profusely. Also, his mum has a chronic problem with bloody noses, which drips blood all over the house without her knowledge. This is a laughably contrived story, but again, the police indulge him.
My dad hasn't had them as much as she does, but he gets them.
Okay.
His are worse than my ma's.
Does she ever get them in the house then, or?
Mostly just with air conditioning,
Okay.
but sometimes with a dehumidifier.
Okay.
Me personally, just in air conditioning.
Mm-hmm.
I get them, but not as bad as my parents. It's not bad.
Okay.
When someone is lying, it's a common strategy to give as much detail as possible in an attempt to make the story appear more believable. That's why he spends so much time talking about air conditioning and dehumidifiers. And now, he adds that his dad also gets nosebleeds. In case the police don't believe the psoriasis story, he wants to add another margin of safety to explain his dad's blood.
Yeah,
I'm just listening right now.
I'm just thinking.
It's kind of absorbing.
I just want to make sure that I'm asking everything so I don't have to keep calling you and stuff.
Do you know my brother? Is he okay?
Mitch?
Yeah, did he make it? I know that's a long drive for
He hasn't
those
called.
two.
Yeah, he hasn't called me at all, so I don't know.
I don't think they've ever done a trip like that.
So
So,
it's like 3 hours, 3.5 I looked up.
Mitch, okay,
Okay.
Chandler asks about the whereabouts of his brother Mitchell for the first time. He must know that his explanations about psoriasis and nosebleeds were difficult to believe, to say the least. This has undoubtedly been the most uncomfortable part of the interview for Chandler, so he tries to change the subject as quickly as possible. For the next 5 minutes, the police ask him easy questions and even engage in some small talk with Chandler. Chandler visibly becomes more relaxed, even laughing a few times. By this point, Chandler probably thinks his story worked. With the police acting so friendly towards him, there's no way they actually think he's a murderer, right? But this temporary state of bliss is short-lived.
About that.
We got all the background, I think, right?
Yeah, I think so.
So I think it's time we start talking about what happened to your parents. Like the truthful version.
okay.
Okay? So we have like 20 pages of writing. We're going to start with a clean white piece of paper for you to start telling the truth.
Okay. What?
Because listen to me. This is the only chance you're going to have to tell us the truth.
Okay.
Okay?
What?
Listen. I can't tell you what we know, but we know you're not telling us the truth. We know your parents are no longer with us. Okay? And we know the reason why. Okay? You need to tell the truth.
There's.
Listen. You need to tell the truth about what happened and just tell us why it happened. Okay? If something happened, if you were defending yourself or if you just got fed up with stuff, you need to tell us the truth. Okay? This is your chance to tell us why. Okay? I'm not BSing you. Okay? So can we do that?
Okay. You're okay.
You're under arrest. Okay?
How would you react if someone accused you of lying? You would probably be angry and immediately start defending yourself. For the first time, the police tell him they already know Bart and Krista are dead. With their blood being found all over the family home, it's obvious where they died. This is the end of the road for Chandler. He now knows his fate has been sealed, and he finally gives up. He is initially arrested for filing a false missing persons report, and soon after, on 2 counts of first-degree homicide for the murder of Bart and Krista Halderson. July 8th, 2021, was the last day of Chandler Halderson's life as a free man.